fight them vehemently to stop them with having their license. So you certainly, the bigger you are in terms of wealth, the more challenges that you're going to endure. You've definitely got to embrace hiring and building teams. That's common in all millionaires. There's no millionaire I've ever met that doesn't have at least, a handful of staff members, maybe 3 or 4. This is the smallest I've seen for a millionaire. So embracing people and teams and hiring and HR, that's all important. Having a grand vision. So having something that maybe lasts beyond your life. All of those things are commonalities of millionaires and billionaires.
And on the sort of personal level, do they tend to be driven people? I mean, I've met so many different millionaires. Some are nice people, some are not very nice, some are introverted, some are extroverted. It's hard to pin down the essence of it, I
don't think that is common. I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions. Because if I asked everyone, in fact, everyone watching live on Charles's or my live, why don't you just write in a line what you think a typical millionaire is? Just think about what you think they might look like or what they might do, and just have a think about that and do that now. Because I think we all have our own prejudgments. Now, when I was an artist, it was someone in a sharp suit with a briefcase, maybe what I perceive to be a bit of a shark. Some people might picture more people like Richard Branson in the modern times, a quintessential entrepreneur. Other people will think of like a proper hustler, if you like. But we all have a different perception. But like you, I've met many millionaires and many billionaires. And some are very family-oriented, some are not. Some are dyslexic, some are not. Some are maybe you'd perceive to be a little bit just greedy. Others are the most giving people I know. And I have not been able to define a stereotype of personality traits or types of person. Sarah here has just said understated and thrifty. Isn't that interesting? Because I think a lot of people would say flashy. But there's the Warren Buffett type millionaire, but then there's the Grant Cardone type millionaire, and they're like almost completely different. You've got Floyd Mayweather, he must be worth nearly $1 billion now, and he's probably one of the most flashy people ever. And then you've got Bill Gates, who's very understated, and Bill Gates and Warren Buffett are giving loads away to philanthropic causes. Neil here has put driven and focused. I would definitely say common I've seen is a desire to keep going, be consistently pushing. So you could call that drive. They've really found a way to make business some kind of passion. Now, sometimes that passion is a love, but sometimes it's an obsession. Sometimes it's an addiction. And in my business, I've experienced genuine love for it, addiction to it, and obsession to it.
You seem like quite an obsessive person. You go for something, you're all in, you know.
Yeah, I'm a very obsessive person. I get addicted to anything I get anywhere near.
Which has worked well for you.
It has.
You've gone down the right road, not addicted to the wrong things.
Yes, true. I'm not perfect. But I definitely... business is a good addiction to have. Whereas others are maybe not,
I think Charlie Munger once said we liked companies and reading reports, and we've been successful. It wouldn't have been the same if our addiction was chasing after chorus girls, I think he said.
Exactly.
An old-fashioned term, chorus girls. But, that's what they do.
Well, and that, I think if you can merge your passion and profession and make your, addiction your vocation, I think that's great.
Okay, right, great. I don't know if there's any more comments coming through there.
There's
but
quite a few.
Just while we're looking at that, how do you see the podcast? I mean, we're on a podcast, so I'm going to put this on a podcast. How do you see that market developing? Is there still room for new people that want to come into it? Because, I mean, you see celebrities now getting into it, and the BBC, and they're all over it. Is there still room for new people coming into it?
Well, people are still setting up email addresses every day. People are still setting up YouTube channels every day. People are still setting up Facebook profiles every day. And also, we tend to think in the realms of UK or US, wherever we're based. But what about other developing countries where there's hardly any? That's got the biggest growth. I still believe it's under 10% of the population listen to a podcast in the UK. It's a massive growth area. It could be the biggest potential growth area in all media and social media that's going on right now.
So you're running courses on it, aren't you?
As far as I'm concerned, if you want to do a podcast, you should do it. You should not worry about if the market is saturated or if it's the wrong time. The right time for you is now if you want to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And on Bitcoin, I mean, you've done some podcasts before on Bitcoin. I just wonder what you thought about Donald Trump's recent tweets that Bitcoin is not money. How do you feel? Because you've talked a lot about cryptocurrencies in general. and some people say it's just all money. It's not proper money.
Well, what is money? It depends on your definition of money.
Yeah.
Do you mean fiat currency? Because if you mean fiat currency, no, crypto is not fiat currency, which I think is how most people understand money. How I understand money is a universal exchange of value, a store of value and worth, a unit of account and measurement. I understand money in the more classic economics definitions, because they transcend the actual currency, whether it's fiat or crypto or whatever we use to exchange value. So for sure, crypto isn't money as we understand. It may be the future of money. It may not. Something else might disrupt it. It certainly has upsides. It doesn't decay, although I suppose cash doesn't so much anymore now, especially with the polymers. It seems to be more secure. I know there's been some security issues, but it does seem to be more secure. It'll be easier to tax us if we're all using cryptocurrency, because you can't hide cash away.
Right.
And you're supposed to have full transparency through the ledger system. And yet I don't know. Forgive me for being sceptical of any politics, but Donald Trump is a smart man, smarter than a lot of people give him credit for. He may have had an agenda to make that tweet, but to a certain degree, he's right. It's not money as we understand it. But Donald Trump doesn't. He talks in black and white. He's a politician, and he's like, it's like always or never, or this is great and this is bad. Well, in reality, all forms of money that are being discussed or currently in circulation, whether you use credit or cash, or whatever, have upsides and downsides. Otherwise, they wouldn't exist. It
could be that some of the politicians are worried about these new Facebook currencies and these things taking the emphasis away from their own government-backed currencies. It could disrupt that.
Definitely, or their own hidden agendas. Because politicians have personal agendas. If you think about being in politics, I don't really do politics normally, but if you think about being in politics, the problem with politics is if you want to be in business and have a really good business that leaves a legacy, you need to think 10, 15, 20, 30 years. You can only think 2 or 4 years ahead in politics, or for as long as the term that you get. And then you've got to think about your own salary and your own position, your own voting and your own, fundraising.
Yeah.
So you're mixing selfish ulterior motives in. Now, that is life. We're all mixing ulterior motives and selfish motives with more outwardly beneficial motives to others. But therefore, in politics, I'm pretty sceptical about what I read, understanding what the motive is behind it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you recently merged companies. You've merged 2 companies into one. You had a sort of a day last week when you had special offers.
Progressive day, yeah.
Do you want to talk about the merger and how that?
So it was a brand merge more than a corporate merge. Right. I.e., we haven't really changed the corporate structure yet. But all we've done really is taken our various brands. So we've got Progressive Property, Unlimited Success, Disruptive Entrepreneur, Progressive Lets. We have other Progressive Developments, Progressive Publishing, Progressive Media, and all of those are going to be progressive. So Unlimited Success will become Progressive Success. Progressive will be our main global brand, which is globally, that makes global sense and is globally translatable, whereas property isn't necessarily globally translatable as easily. And we did that because we have more equity in the brand of Progressive than we do our other brands, because it's been going longer. And 2, because we're starting to now do courses and get a foothold in other countries and continents. And to celebrate that, we did a Progressive Day, which I suppose is a bit like Black Friday or Prime Day, where to celebrate this day, to put this flag in this day, we let people make an offer on our courses, and we gave £145,000 worth of discounts, or on top of existing discounts. So actually it was probably nearly double that, nearly £300,000 worth of discounts on that day to our loyal clients.
Okay. And which courses are sort of taking off at the moment? I mean, you do lots of things. It's not just property. You do Amazon courses and podcast courses. I mean, which one do you think are the most popular?
Well, for us, our public speaking course, Expert Speaker Revolution, is a very popular course. Right. As of late, our social media influencer and our podcast media masterclass courses have been very popular. The last 2 are newer. Brand and marketing masterclass has become quite popular. What's been popular for years is our property investing masterclass, our no money down property investing masterclass, our service accommodation masterclass. Those courses have been popular for a long time on the property side of things. But I mean, we probably have another double that again of courses. That's what we are. We're a training business.
Yeah, and you obviously have confidence in the property market despite Brexit and this sort of thing that's been holding the market back.
I have confidence in property,
yeah,
which is different from confidence in the property market. Do I think in 10 years or 20 years or 50 years, property will still be here? Absolutely, fundamentally, yes. Will the market cycle? Will it go booms and buses? Buses. Property is like buses. Yeah. Booms and busts. Of course it will. Can I predict when they will happen and how they will be? No. And people try and predict all the time, and they try and get me to predict. I've got confidence that property will always have utility. And most investment classes need utility. Not always, but most. If they're backed by utility, especially fundamental needs like housing, shelter, then they're likely to be of good value for a long time. The great thing about property as well is the not only the utility, but the life cycle of them. Properties can last hundreds of years. And then add to that the massive demand for extra housing and the massive undersupply of housing and the massive shortage, the influx of increased birth rate and of course immigration, etc. So you have a big supply-demand deficit, vital for an investment class to continue to go up. Yeah. And utility, which I think is important. That's why commodities are tradable, because they have utility. The fundamentals of property I fully, forever buy into.
And you can use leverage as well.
Exactly. You can't leverage many other classes. Yeah. You can leverage property, which means you can get a better return on your investment.
And there's lots of different ways of buying properties other than just a mortgage. I mean, you proved that with your
you can do options, instalment contracts. You can do rent-to-rents, assisted sales. There's all sorts of various ways of controlling property rather than owning it, or trading it rather than owning it. But I think the assumption for people that, the property market's going to crash, the assumption that is bad. It's not bad if you're a property investor, because you buy your assets cheaper and your yields are higher, and your rents normally go up when the values go down. So in any market cycle, it's not like it's better or worse. It's a perception if it's better for some and worse for others. It's just a redistribution of the movement of money. So in a recession, chocolate businesses will thrive. Tattooists will thrive, and there's many other business models. The pawn, the gold exchange, and buying things for cash. There was loads of those shops.
Cash converters,
exactly.
And that sort of thing,
they'll thrive in the so-called recession. So some business models thrive, some business models dive. It's just the way it works.
Okay. Can I ask you? Just imagine for a moment you were starting out today with nothing. What would you do if you were starting again? And not necessarily in debt, but you just said, I'm going to start from scratch. What would you go into these days?
Well, I wouldn't do that much different, because I've made more than £100 million in sales in that time, so I'm quite happy with that. I'd definitely get into property. If I didn't have any money like I didn't back then, I'd maybe package some deals, as long as I could find good deals and I could build some credibility. And I would certainly start with single let and then get into the more innovative strategies, such as rent-to-rent or service accommodation. So I would do what we did, and I would do what we teach in property, and I definitely want property to always be a mainstay.
Right.
A lot of people think that my training business and personal development and property training is my main thing. No, property, buying property and owning property and converting property, it's always been our main thing, and that always will be. Yeah. On the business side, again, I would probably run a training business. Now, if I was starting again, I'd have to build up my credibility again. But authoring and podcasting and maybe using YouTube and leveraging social media to reach clients and running a training business, an information business, I think it's a great business model. I love it.
So I don't think it'll be long before you'd be back up there anyway. So
no, and someone asked me how long I'd never been asked this before. People always ask me what I'd do if I started again, but someone said, how long do you think it would take to get you back where you are? And I thought, well, maybe about 2/3 of the time, because if I can have all the knowledge, I can go a bit faster. I can take some more risks, but we've done okay. So maybe 2/3 of the time it might take.
Okay. And is there any, if people want to get in touch with you, I know you're on live stream for your thing, but for my clients, where would you want to direct them to if they wanted to go and look at your courses, or
Yeah.
look up Rob Moore, or
Yeah, so if you search my name, Rob Moore, certainly in the UK, you can find my Facebook, Instagram, my website, my books. If you go on Amazon and search my name, Rob Moore, you'll find my book, Money, my book, Start Now, Get Perfect Later, my new book, I'm Worth More. If you search me on podcasts, you'll find Disruptive Entrepreneur and Money Podcast. So my name, Rob Moore, and then book, podcast, or whatever. On my website, you can obviously see what I do. And Progressive Property is
Right.
my main training company. Here's a good one, Charles. Someone has put, those who teach it can't do it. Is that true? Well, look, in some ways, yes, and in some ways, no, I think. So when I was at university, I had a couple of lecturers who were lecturing on architecture, but they weren't running a practice.
Yeah.
So in that regard, they'd made teaching then vocation instead of doing. Now, maybe they did and they retired, or maybe they did and they failed and they taught. I think, but also I think it's quite a crap quote, because I think it's just generalised.
Yeah.
I think it's vital to be a good teacher to do. And I think if you want to take this further, there are some that do that don't teach. There are some that do that can't teach. There are some that don't do that teach, which isn't really very credible, but there's plenty of those. And there are some that do and teach.
Yeah.
And I like to put myself in that final bracket that I do and I teach. And I think that that's what makes you credible.
Yeah, I think a lot of successful people don't really know why they're successful, but you've obviously analysed it and you can teach it. A lot of successful people, if you say to them,
A lot of people who are really successful can't teach,
Yeah.
because teaching is hard. A lot of people who are really successful try and like, man, this is draining. I don't want to mentor people. You know, a lot of people don't know how to deal with the human side or overcoming their challenges. Mentoring is hard. Mentoring is challenging, it's draining, but it's also bloody rewarding. And it's something that I've done a lot of and I really enjoy. But to be able to credibly answer the questions, you have to walk the walk of doing the thing. So Haroon asked, is it true that those that can do and those that can't teach? No, the reality is there's all types.
Yeah.
Is it true that those who are busy with closing deals have not got time for personal development training? No, I've never heard that, and that's the biggest load of nonsense I've ever heard. And I'm quite happy with these comments and questions, but you should, if you're going to ask, you need to be happy with my answer. I've never met anyone who is doing a lot of property deals or being successful in business, I haven't, who isn't keen to develop their mindset, keen to learn about business, about psychology, about dealing with people, about overcoming challenges, about resilience, about grit, about determination, about thinking positively, about solving problems and challenges and creativity.
Yeah.
All of that you could call personal development. So no, I don't know many people who are too busy doing deals to do their personal development. I would say that's quite rare.
And you've obviously you've got a side of the business that does those deals anyway. You're not out every day looking at terrace houses, are you?
No.
You've got that organised.
Yeah, I think you need skill set and mindset.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, when you grow your business, generally what happens is you attract bigger challenges. So you go and do some deals, you think, great, I've got deals, I'm busy doing deals. And then you get your planning rejected, and then you're over time and over budget. And how do you handle your emotions? And how do you deal with the rejection from people when you just want to get angry with them? That's personal development, and that's vital. Now, you can learn personal development on the job every day in business, because it will teach you that. The business, running a successful business, definitely taught me about managing my emotions, because each time I lost my shit, it cost me money or cost me staff or just created issues. So I learned that on the job. But if someone could have taught me that, or I could have done a course on that, that'd have saved me 2 or 3 staff leaving, or refunds or whatever if I'd lost my shit.
But then you did manage to get your business to scale it up from just you and a few people up to what it is now.
Yeah, we have 88 staff in the office, and then about another 100 out of the office. And so
which is always a
you
challenge
have to let go
up.
to grow. Yeah, you have to get out of the way, and you have to let go of the perfectionism, and you have to let people lead and let them take the credit, and let them go and make mistakes from time to time. All the stuff that every entrepreneur goes through, that no entrepreneur wants to go through. That's hard for every entrepreneur.
Yeah, you did a podcast with David Coggins recently, didn't you? It was very, very interesting. I bought his book immediately. But he talked about your mind never wanting to do the things that you should be doing.
Yeah.
You've got another comment there.
I'm just scrolling. You carry on, Charles.
Yeah, that your mind is saying, no, don't do that, be comfortable. And you touched on that earlier, that your chimp brain will say, no, don't do that, go and play golf, go and goof off and that sort of thing. But,
goof off, yeah.
He was a very interesting guy.
Yeah.
The other one I liked of yours was Barry Hearn. I thought
he was great.
Super guy.
He was one of the he was one of the favourites out of everyone. Yeah, I thought he was great. Haroon here has said again, can we get rid of the chimp child mind, or can we only do our best to keep it under control? I think the latter, because I think it's necessary. If you didn't have that, what people call the chimp mind, which is essentially your survival faculty. So, your brain wanting to do something easier is just protecting you from difficult situations, which serves you for evolution.
Yeah.
So, no, you're never going to get rid of fear, and you're never going to get rid of the voices and the mind that tries to take the easy route, because that can actually help with your survival. But it's just about managing it and contextualizing it for the modern world that we're in, and knowing when actually your conscious mind's got to override this chimp or child mind, because you've just got to man up or woman up and get your shit done because you're procrastinating or dealing with the situation and making it feel like it's survival hard instead of just modern day hard. But sometimes you've got to listen to yourself and go, do you know what, I'm knackered, so have a day off. Or actually, this is going to put me in a dangerous situation. I'm risking all of my money. This is stupid. Listen to this voice.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And where do you how much writing do you do now? I mean, you've got this book out now, I'm Worth More, but
yeah.
I believe that you're working on several books at once.
I'm writing 4 at the moment, though they're going a bit slow because I'm writing 4.
And you write them all yourself? I mean, you sit down and do it?
Yeah, I write them all myself because I think it's important to have my voice. I'm going to test someone writing a book for me, stroke with me, just to see that, just to try something different. But yeah, I'm usually writing hour, 2 hours a day, 3 hours plus if I'm in book writing mode, but I'm usually constantly writing stuff.
Good stuff,
Yeah.
Great. And your new book, what's different about your new book that you haven't written out of 14 books?
Yeah.
I'm Worth More. Is it about mindset to...
The subtitle is Realise Your Value and Unleash Your Potential. So yeah, it's a different book in that it deals more about how you feel about yourself, your inner self-worth, your inner feeling of value, how you take your inner worth and translate into outer value, therefore increasing your fees or putting yourself out there more and winning more business.
Or charging enough for your art.
Yeah,
You've
exactly.
touched on that
Charging
before.
enough for your work, valuing yourself to know what to say yes to and what to say no to, how your self-worth links to your net worth. So it's very different because it's more based on how you feel about yourself. Because I don't think that mindset is just mindset. I think it's mind and body. Because like when you don't feel good about yourself, it's just not in your brain, it's in your whole body, it's in your stomach, it's in your, when you get nervous or you feel vulnerable or exposed or you just feel unworthy, you feel that in your whole body.
Yeah.
So it's not just a mindset book. It's
People talk about your gut feeling,
yeah,
your heart,
exactly.
and your head and your heart.
Having low self-worth, feeling empty. And empty is here, not here.
Right,
Yeah.
okay. Well, I think we've covered everything I've got to really ask you. I mean, it's been really very, very interesting.
Thank you, Charles.
Any more last-minute comments coming through? Or?
Let's have a look. We might as well get everyone involved. Oh, I've just pressed something here. Let's have a look.
Got quite a few coming through there.
No, just some comments. So
Right.
we're all good. We've taken them all.
Good stuff. Well, once again, thanks for your time, Rob.
Thanks, Charles.
It's been really interesting.
Thanks,
talking
everyone.
to you.
All right.
And goodbye, everyone. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
That's a wrap. Cut.
All right.
Great. That was fantastic.
Thanks, Charles. Appreciate that.
Thanks very much. Good,
All right.
Great answers as well.
Thank you very much, sir. Shall we have a quick picture before we go? Yeah.
Joey, you're going to...
And do you want to finish that one? Is that still on?
Is that off now, Joey?
It's off now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Move that. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Maybe I'll move that out of the way.